come here and visit
She did come.
to here. So she must have known your mother.
Like
How did
Katie? Oh, I suppose they must have known each other somehow. But yeah, I can remember Mrs. Flynn coming here, and probably Mari, and Katie was a little tiny girl, I think. You know, Mari's daughter.
That must have been in later years.
So do you remember though? So Robert, you obviously met Uncle Kerry at some point. What was your earliest memories of meeting Uncle Kerry?
Well, I must have known him, even though it wasn't probably very close. But I went for secondary school. I went to Maris Brothers at Ashgrove, and Kerry went to Nudgee, because I met him out there one day when I was out there playing sport just for a short time, and that's
at Nudgee. You met him at Nudgee?
Yeah, at
okay.
Nudgee, so.
And you would have both connected because you were both from Bedezit Jimboomba area, you think?
Yeah, that must have been the reason. We must have met somewhere before we went away to school.
And that would have been the high school years, like when you were 14, 15 or something, do you think?
Yeah,
or
13,
You weren't in rural years at that stage?
No. That was several years later. I was in rural years. And
so you met him then, and did you have
probably Kerry and Mari were in Bedezit Junior Farmers for a little while. I think I'm right in saying that.
Yeah. So Bedezit Junior Farmers, that was a group of young people, young farmers?
Yeah, they don't have to be farmers. You can they had clubs in Brisbane.
So it was just a social club sort of thing? Or
with farming probably in the background. It was, rural in that sense, but it was a great organisation in that era. And
that was held in Bedezit?
Yeah, but there was clubs later in Tamrookham, and first of all, after Bedezit, there was Beenleigh and Tamrookham and Woodhill.
That's fantastic,
Conundrum.
isn't it? It was a bit of a youth group for farmers sort of thing.
Yeah, and as I say, they didn't have to be farmers. They could be town people if they wanted to be.
Yeah.
But it was kind of rural orientated, like.
But they went from junior farmers to
rural youth.
Oh, okay.
Then.
Oh, changed the name. Yeah.
And do you remember, so you met Uncle Kerry at school, most likely, because most people around here boarded, didn't they? They went into Maris Brothers or Nudgee to board. Was that the case with most local people?
They didn't have the high school in Bedezit. They did have something up at the state primary school that, whether it kind of leading on to sub-junior or something like that, but the high school started after, I went to Ashgrove. I'm not sure of the year, but I was at Ashgrove in 1956, 57.
Do you remember what grade you had gone into when you went to Ashgrove?
Oh, sub-junior.
So is that grade 9 and 10 sort of thing, possibly?
Yeah, grade 8 was still
here.
In primary school in my era.
Scholarship.
Like grade 8 was scholarship year.
Okay, and so probably similar to a lot of people around here, and that's why Dad and the family would have gone to Nudgee as well. There would have been the choice of the few schools, and so you obviously met Uncle Kerry at a sports game because you were. Were you similar ages to Uncle Kerry, or similar age?
What year he was born?
Same as you.
42.
Yeah.
So you're both 42. And what month is Uncle Kerry born? What month
December.
is December, and when's
May.
May? Yeah, there you go. So you met there, and you possibly met again then at the Farmers Club. Possibly.
Maybe a dance or something like that.
Yeah, you'd never get to dances. He probably was, a bit like Mark in a way.
I was just going to say, so Auntie Lexie, explain to us his personality from your perspective, Uncle Kerry. Like what was his personality traits? As I said, we knew him as a child, but how would you summarise him from an adult perspective?
Well, I suppose you'd say he might play jokes on people.
Yeah.
Actually, I felt Kerry could bring himself down to a child's level. A lot of adults probably couldn't bring themselves down to a child's level, but I think he could.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because all of us as children all remember him coming and talking to us, I remember Mackay coming to me and saying, oh, you've grown so much taller, and, little things like this, and took an interest in you and that sort of thing. Can you go through now his childhood, Auntie Lexie? Like, you know, what school, as Rob was saying before, you know, mentioning what school did Uncle Kerry go to Jimboomba Primary at all, do you know, or Maclean's school? Or
No, I think he went to Maclean School, but Michael and Peter did too, didn't they?
Well, that's
Until a certain age.
interesting that you say that, because I thought Dad went to Maclean's school, and this is where I've got to clarify this somewhere, because Uncle Peter's pretty sure he did grade 1 at Jimboomba. Uncle Peter's even wondering if he boarded at Jimboomba in grade 1. And then Uncle Peter's pretty sure he went straight to Milton after that. I thought he went to Maclean's school, because I remember him mentioning about horses, you know, riding the horses over there and leaving the horses in the paddock. But now I'm not sure. So I'd be interested to try and find that information out, actually.
You know, I don't know where I'd seen photos, but I thought I'd seen photos of, say, Michael and Peter and
Auntie
you know, how
Lexie.
they took the school photos.
Yeah,
with grade
well,
1
you
on
might
the
have them
slate.
here, Auntie Lexie. We might have to find them. That might give us our answer.
No, well, Mari, you ask your mother about this, because Mari had a cake tin full of photos. And
I wonder if Sissy's got those.
you
or
better
Pete.
ask your mum. I don't know whether your mum ever got them off Mari, or
Yeah, okay.
and did one of the other family get that cake tin full of photos.
Yeah. Okay, well, we might have to. So you think it might be in there, a possible. We might track that down. But
Somebody might have it
Yeah.
in the family. I haven't got that.
going back to Uncle Kerry, then you think he went to Maclean's Primary like the others, like Uncle Peter and Uncle Barry, and then he went to
And then he
Nudgee as well.
went to Nudgee as well, and then he
Yeah.
got sick.
Yes.
And then that was the end of the schooling
yes.
for him then. He
So
came home to the
you-
farm.
How did he get to Maclean School? A horse or a
Well,
bike or
I
a
s-
cream carrier or
I
a
suppose
milk carrier?
I think it might have been a horse. I'm not real sure on that.
Yeah, it's good to get everyone's versions of this. Uncle Peter sometimes mentions that they walked across the river, and I said, was the river that low that you could do that? And he said mostly it was, but if it was high, they'd catch the
Cream carrier.
cream carrier.
Yes.
So from that perspective, he said they were often late to school and wore no shoes, of course, and things like that. And yeah, so do you know much about the history of Uncle Kerry being sick? His age isn't exactly what happened there. Do you know much about that, or?
Well, I think Granny said that he got sick and they took him to the Desert Hospital.
He would have been about 12, was he? 12, 13, I think was
It's
it?
around that age, I guess. They took him to the Desert Hospital, and they probably thought that he had some sort of flu, and they gave him a lot of sulphur,
Yes.
and that
That was pre-antibiotics, I think, wasn't it? When we didn't have antibiotics much or something.
and he got sicker, and then ended up in the Mater, and I think he was pretty sick. They didn't think he'd pull through, and they said that the sulphur had destroyed one of his kidneys, and Granny, I suppose, and Mick used to take him in mashed potatoes made from the cream, and they reckon that's what, by eating those mashed potatoes, that helped him to survive.
I've always heard that
thought.
story too, actually. So,
Yeah.
because he was in hospital for a fair while, wasn't he? And then he came back, and so he mostly worked on the farm, milking the cows.
Yes.
And that's probably around the time he might have joined Robert and the Young Farmers Club when he was milking their cows, maybe, and things like that. And
a few years later.
yeah.
Yeah.
And did he enjoy the farm life? Do you remember?
I think he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did he like riding horses and things like that, or?
Well, they may have had horses in their young days,
Yeah.
but I can't recall seeing a lot of horses in the times that I was going to the farm. But you see, everybody's passed away now
Yeah.
to ask, haven't they?
Yeah.
Peter.
Yeah.
Well,
we know
Peter's here, and Peter would know everything because he, he's been.
Yeah, well, we've got lots
Here
of
all
questions
the
to ask
time.
Uncle Peter. I'll just pause this for a moment. So what's this, Auntie Lexie? That looks
this is-
like...
Before you-
Actually, you've already got all this.
Is that
on
something you
your
can
phone.
pull out of the sleeve or not?
Yeah,
I
it
might
is.
photograph better
It
if you
is.
take it out of the sleeve.
So this is Aggie's... I will take a photo of it too later, but this is... So when did Aggie die? So she's died, entered into eternal life on the 29th of January 1983. Looking at that.
Agnes Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mrs. Honora of Evergreen, Jimboomba, formerly of Bellevue, 13 Bellevue Street, Milton, Honora Ginther, who was Granny's mother, Nana.
And is that
She died on the 8th of the 6th, 77.
Oh, so that was 8th of the 677, yes, because she died in Mackay, actually.
Yes, and your mum had to come down on the plane with her. I always remember your mum saying that.
I don't actually remember
She died in
that.
Mackay and your mum had to come down, you know, Nana was on the plane,
Oh, really?
passed away,
Yeah.
and your mum had to come down on the plane
Oh,
with her.
really? I don't.
Yes,
I don't
think-
actually remember knowing that. I was obviously too young to know that.
Yeah,
but
well, just ask your mum about that.
yeah, it's interesting. I certainly remember when it happened because they'd visit us in Mackay, and we loved them visiting us when you all came. But I remember we were sent to the neighbour's place, Mars, and I remember seeing Granny walking up the stairs in Mackay in tears from the neighbour's place, and we all realised Nana must have gone. So
Yes. I
yeah,
can remember-
he's just having a look at when Timothy Buckley died.
Yeah, Timothy Buckley died in 1909. But
1909, and when did his wife?
His wife Johanna died in 1913.
There you go, 1913. Just thinking, oh yeah, that's Johanna there, isn't it, as well? She died 1913. She was aged 79. That's interesting, isn't it?
And he was aged 79 too.
Oh, they were both 79. I wonder when he was born. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, right. Yep. I'll work that out. Okay. Got here is the gravestones, a picture of the gravestones of Nana at Toowong. And Auntie Lexie's just showing us that. So we've got
Honora Ginther, Nana, 93 years. We've got her husband Peter Ginther. He died in 1955, 73 years. And then we've got Eileen Ginther, who is Granny's sister.
yes,
Granny's sister,
yes.
and she was only 12 months.
Yeah, wow. Do we remember what she died from?
No,
Eileen?
I don't.
Yeah.
And then Nana's mother, Johanna Coonan,
Yes.
78 years. She died in 1940.
That's interesting. 1940. Okay. Yeah. So what year did Nana die again? Oh, that's right. We knew that, didn't we? She was in 1977. we said.
1977.
Yeah,
when
that's right.
when you think back to 1940, and I can't see that. I can't see that date of Eileen there. I'd have to look
Yeah.
more on that one. But this is out at Albany. This is Martin. Well, we didn't know. I don't think. We just thought it was Martin Flynn.
Martin Flynn. Whereabouts is that?
Albany.
Where's that?
Out near Toowoomba, is it, Robert? Or
Getting out towards Oakey, isn't it? You'd turn off the highway in the Oakey area and head to Albany.
There you go.
Geez, Robert, it was 1998 you and I and Maureen went out there.
No, actually, that's... Careful, Kathy. You're in trouble.
There you go. Okay, show us your garden, Auntie Lexie. Auntie Lexie's got a lovely... Oh, look, there's cherry tomatoes there. This is great. And they're beautiful. Look at that.
It's a garden of...
Oh my gosh.
A garden
that
of
is
many colours.
So beautiful. I'll just get Auntie... Oh, there's the succulent over there. Over the top there. Succulent over there, I can see. I think I've got that in my garden, that succulent.
There's some succulents down here. Quite a gathering
Oh, yeah,
of them.
yeah. There's two. It's pretty, isn't it? That's lovely, Auntie Lexie, or your garden.
Oh. I love the garden, but you need a lot of time to have a really good garden.
Yeah.